The United States maintains a massive network of high-tech military bases scattered across the Middle East, designed to project absolute global supremacy. These bases are largely products of the Cold War, rooted in the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. This strategy relies on the threat of total nuclear annihilation to prevent any direct conflict between major powers. Their primary function has historically been to protect local monarchies and enforce American authority in the region. They are symbols of an era where power was measured by the size of a conventional military footprint. Modern threats operate differently. A cheap, low-flying drone slips right under the sightline of traditional billion-dollar radar systems, rendering these massive fortifications increasingly obsolete. This creates a dangerous reality where the most expensive military alliance in the region remains highly vulnerable to low-cost, asymmetric warfare. Topography dictates the rules of engagement here. Looking at a map of the Persian Gulf, there is a severe geographic disparity between the northern and southern coastlines. Iran is a natural mountain fortress. These rugged ranges provide thousands of miles of cover, where missile silos and drone launch pads can be hidden from satellite surveillance. The nations of the Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, which include states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, face the opposite reality. Their cities are built on flat, open desert, with no natural barriers to shield their critical infrastructure. Geography has effectively rigged the board. The U.S. and its GCC allies are positioned in an environment where they cannot hide, while their adversary remains sheltered by the terrain. American economic stability is tied directly to the continued survival of these exposed Gulf cities. This relationship is defined by the petrodollar. This is a system where the U.S. dollar derives its global value because the GCC nations demand payment for their oil exclusively in dollars. This creates a constant global demand for American currency. Despite their immense wealth, these cities are artificial. They exist in a landscape with almost no naturally occurring food or fresh water, relying entirely on external systems to sustain their populations. The foundation of the American economic empire is balanced on desert cities that cannot sustain their own biological survival without constant imports. The GCC relies on foreign trade for 80% of its food. These ports are the region's literal lifeline. Without a constant flow of cargo ships, these nations face an immediate supply crisis. Water is even more scarce. 60% of the region's fresh water is produced in coastal desalination plants. Desalination is a complex industrial process that uses electrochemical reactions to turn saltwater into drinking water. These plants are fragile and highly combustible. A single drone strike could disable a facility, triggering a regional water shortage that would be nearly impossible to resolve quickly. This entire system of survival passes through the Strait of Hormuz. It is a narrow physical bottleneck, only 33 kilometers wide. Through this tiny gap, 20% of the world's oil moves out to global markets, while 80% of the region's food moves in. Blocking this single passage would sever the regional supply chain and destabilize the very currency backing the global economy. If the Strait of Hormuz were closed, the immediate suspension of the oil trade would cause a sharp drop in the global demand for U.S. dollars. This chart shows the energy dependency of major Asian economies. India relies on this choke point for 60% of its oil, while China depends on it for 40%. Japan is the most vulnerable, with 75% of its oil passing through the strait. Without this supply, the Japanese economy would face total collapse within 8 to 9 months. These interconnected trade links mean a localized blockade in the strait creates a severe, involuntary shock to the global economic system. The United States and Israel have identified a counter-strategy that targets Iran's own vulnerabilities, specifically its long-standing drought and climate instability. By targeting Iranian dams and reservoirs, the opposition could turn the natural mountain fortress into a waterless prison. This strategy focuses on making the interior of the country uninhabitable. This is a global game of chicken. Both sides now possess the ability to destroy the basic infrastructure required for the other's survival. Global security now rests on the integrity of water pipes and the accessibility of a 33-kilometer stretch of sea. The survival of the modern world order hangs by a very thin thread.